You have about 20 seconds to prove why this episode matters to your listener. Yep, just 20. And if you spend those 20 seconds apologizing, rambling, talking about your coffee, your kids, the snowmageddon, they're gone. Okay, friend, let's start with this thought. Is your podcast, does it feel a little off right now? It's not broken necessarily. It's not failing. It's just misaligned. If you're feeling that way, then this episode is for you. Now, let me say this clearly because I've been doing this a long time. Most podcasts don't stall because the host isn't talented, because the clarity has drifted. The message gets fuzzy and the sound loses confidence. And the brand stops matching who you are now in the season that you're in. And something that we don't talk about enough is sometimes that discomfort isn't failure. It's God inviting you into a reset, not a full rebrand, not starting over, just a refresh. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to dive into the Clarity Refresh method. I'm going to help you realign your look, your voice, and your mission with who God has called you to be right now. And yes, we're doing this with God in the process, not just asking Him to bless the final result. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. I remember one day I was getting ready to hit record. The outline was ready. I was ready. The mic was plugged in. My notes were open. My water bottle was within reach. I hit record and instantly felt it wasn't nerves. Certainly wasn't a lack of preparation, but it was pressure. It felt tight and forced, like I was trying to perform a character of Tammy the podcaster instead of just being me, authentically. I realized I was more worried about my podcast voice than my purpose. And I was creating for God, but wasn't working in partnership with Him. When you carry the weight of your brand alone, it can be exhausting at times. But when you partner with God, the work becomes light. And the process isn't just about your listeners. It's about saving you from burnout and bringing you back to the joy of your calling. So here's a quick gut check, okay? Now, which one of these friction points feels most true to you right now? Is it the visuals? Maybe you're saying, I'm embarrassed to send people to my podcast page because I really don't like my cover art. Maybe it's your voice. Maybe you are thinking, I sound like I'm reading a script, not necessarily leading a movement. Maybe it's your hook. If someone asked you what your show is about while you're in an elevator, would you be able to describe it or would you stumble over your words? I just want you to notice it. Now, as always, there is no judgment here, but if you do notice it and you do feel the need to have more clarity about your show, I want you to ask God to show you what the clarity needs to be. That's it. That's where we're going to start. So we're going to start with the look, that visual trust. And let me just say this up front. This is not about vanity. This is about stewardship. Because your cover art and your visuals are a trust signal. Because before anyone hears your voice, they've already decided if you look credible, clear, and they want to listen to your show. Because branding is not about pretty colors. It's about lowering the barrier to entry so someone's brain says, I know exactly what this is. This is the show for me. So let's do this together, not later, right now. Now, when someone finds your show in a sea of search results, their brain generally asks one question. Is this for me? They're not asking, is it pretty? Is this super creative? But is this the show that I'm looking for to help me with the thing I'm searching for? Now, if your cover art is cluttered or busy or the font is hard to read, the brain says, nope, before they ever hit play, before you even open your mouth to speak. So here's what I want you to do after today's episode. Or if you want to pause me, you certainly can do that too. Open up your favorite podcast app, and I want you to scroll like you're a stranger. You come across your show. Would you click on it? Would you want to listen to it? Or would you just scroll past it? There's no shame. Remember, this is just clarity. Now, imagine your cover art is the size of a postage stamp. Yep, that's small. Can you still read the title? Because if you have to squint, your listener is gone. We want big, clean text because it wins every single time. Not script fonts. Those are super hard to read. Like I said, big, clean text. And now this last one is a fun one, I think. Does your art look like a hobby or a home? So let's say you are teaching about leadership in ministry, but the design feels chaotic. Or maybe you are talking about peace and how to find that within our daily life, but your design feels loud. You're sending mixed signals here because clarity invites trust. Now, here's that faith piece because this really matters. Ask God to help you remove what distracts so that the right people can find your message. Now, remember, my friend, we are not polishing for ego. We're clearing the path so people can hear what you were called to say. Okay, now let's talk sound. And I'm not talking about your microphone necessarily. I'm talking about the authority in your lungs. Because most podcasters don't lose listeners due to audio quality, unless it's really bad audio quality. But they actually lose them because their delivery feels unsure. And confidence is not necessarily talking louder or having more volume. The confidence is clarity. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I want you to listen for these things in your last episode or your last few episodes. I just wanted to hop on. I'm just sharing my thoughts. I'm just trying something new. The word just, it shrinks you. It tells your listener you don't need to pay attention. So instead, we want to use different language, more leadership language. Today, you're going to be walking away with X. So today on the show, we are going to be solving this problem together. See the difference? It's the same message, just completely different energy. Now let's talk about the intro, because this is where a lot of people seem to add a lot of extra fluff, and we just don't need that. We don't have time for that. Because here's a fact. You have about 20 seconds to prove why this episode matters to your listener. Yep, just 20. And if you spend those 20 seconds apologizing, rambling, talking about your coffee, your kids, the snowmageddon, whatever it is, they're gone. So here is a practical exercise that I want you to do. Go ahead and script your first 20 to 30 seconds. It doesn't need to be word for the whole thing, just enough to train your brain to start strong. And there's three things: the hook, the promise, the roadmap. That's it. That's all you got to have in that intro. And if you're doing an interview, it doesn't need to be the entire bio of your guest. It doesn't need to be where they went to school and what their accolades are and all of that. It just say simply, I am interviewing Michelle Thomas today. She's a podcaster, an author, and a mom, and we're going to be talking about this. That's all you got to do. The other thing that I hear a lot, and I listen to a lot of podcasts each week, is the sorry phrase. And different shows will say, oh, sorry, I haven't posted, or sorry, I'm a day late, whatever the phrase is. So instead of using sorry, try thank you for your patience. It could be thank you for your patience while I leaned into some family things. Thank you for your patience while I was battling the flu, whatever the reason is. Because again, leadership language builds trust. Now let's talk about the confidence in our voice a little bit. So as you're sitting down to record, I want you to ask yourself one slightly dramatic but very effective question. Would I follow this person into battle? Like I said, slightly dramatic, right? But if the answer is no, first, don't panic. I want you to pause and ask the Holy Spirit to help you serve your audience well today. Not impress, but serve. And that one line will shift everything. I guarantee it. Now let's talk about the message that you're delivering, because your message is your biggest growth lever. And the thing about the message is sometimes people aren't very clear. They don't have a lot of clarity behind that message. Because if you can't explain your show in one sentence, your message is drifting. This isn't about being clever. It's about being clear. So if you are from the mommy blogger days, and I might be dating myself here a little bit, but if you're from those days, all of our blog names and titles of our blog posts were very clever because that's what was required. But today, with all the things that are competing for our attention, we can't be clever. We need to be clear. So we need to make sure that we're moving from a topic to a result. So, for example, a topic could be patience. We're talking about patience in today's episode, where a result would be. So, today on the show, we're going to talk about how to stop yelling at your kids in the mornings when things get chaotic and how to have an organized plan. A little bit different, right? Because here's the thing, people don't subscribe to topics, they subscribe to transformations. How is your show going to help change your listener's life? Now, it might not be a complete life changing thing, but it may change the way that your listener deals with the morning chaos. So I want you to ask yourself, what changes for someone because they listen to my podcast? That's where we start to build our message. The other thing is, I see a lot of podcasters, especially new podcasters, they're not really sure who their audiences are, and they try to be all things to all people. And let me say this, you, my friend, cannot be a light to every single person. I was recently listening to a new podcaster, and she said, this podcast is for everyone who loves Jesus. And I thought, well, that's actually for nobody then. It's too broad. What exactly is it about? It doesn't tell me anything. Yes, everyone should love Jesus, of course. Please don't send me notes on that. But the show itself is not going to give anybody anything that's going to help change something for their listener. Like I said, it's for nobody. So in order to broaden your impact, you need to narrow your focus. This show is a prime example. It could easily be podcasting secrets, but that's not really going to help the Christian podcaster whom I serve. We needed to narrow our focus to broaden our impact. And one of the other things about clarifying your message is what I like to call the one sentence framework. Yep, just one sentence can describe what your show is actually about. So that if you encounter someone that says, hey, what's your podcast about? You can just rattle that off. One sentence is all you have to remember. So here's your structure, and you can say it out loud with me if you want. I help a specific person achieve a specific result through my unique method. Now, a really fuzzy version of this would be, my podcast is about faith and encouragement. That's lovely, but it doesn't tell me much. A clear version is, I help Christian women build consistent podcasts with faith-fueled strategy so that they can share their message confidently, crystal clear. Can you feel the difference between the two? One is a category, the other is the calling. And that when people hear that sentence or read that sentence, they know exactly what they're going to get. If you need some clarity on this, I want you to ask God, who am I called to serve in this specific season? Not forever, just right now, this season that you're in. Okay, I want you to treat this next part like a mini consult with me. So what you're going to do is you're going to set a 20-minute timer sometime this week, not someday in the future, because there is no someday. This week, 20 minutes. Here's your checklist. You're going to audit your bio. We're going to delete the filler, and we're going to lead with the problem that you solve. Number 2, we're going to polish up that intro. I want you to script your first 30 seconds with the hook, the promise, and the roadmap. Number 3, the squint test. Look at your cover art on your phone. Is it messy? Is it not clear? Can you actually read it? If not, simplify it. And number 4, one clear call to action. Choose one next step for your listeners. Not 5, just 1. Make your goal super simple. Because when it comes to your podcast, a stranger should understand your value in 5 seconds. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be clear. And if you don't do anything else from this episode, I want you to do this part right here, these 4 steps. Because, my friend, clarity isn't cosmetic. Clarity is catalytic. So maybe you've been listening to today's episode and you're thinking, hey, Tammy, I need more than 20 minutes. I need total realignment. If you feel that your message is powerful, but your strategy is chaotic and messy, or maybe you're tired of guessing if your show is actually reaching the right people, I have something specifically for you, and I'm really very excited about it. It's called the Podcast Intensive. Now, this is not a pick my brain type of session. You guys know how I feel about that. It's a 90-minute deep dive strategy overhaul where you and I sit down to bridge the gap between your faith and your analytics. We're going to nail your transformation statement, optimize your growth strategy, and ensure your show is built to scale without burning you out. So stop spinning your wheels trying to figure out the algorithm on your own. Let's get you the clarity you need to lead with confidence. By the time we're done, you're going to have a roadmap that makes sense for your life, your business, and your calling. Now, there are limited spots available each month. Head on over to wildfirecreativecompany.com/podcast intensive or click the link in the show notes to book your spot today. Let's make your message plain and clear so your listeners can finally run. Okay, now back to the show. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2 says, write the vision and make it plain that he may run when he reads it. Clarity isn't branding fluff. It's obedience. And the goal of being plain is just so people understand you. It's so that they can run. When your message is fuzzy, your listeners will stand still. When you're clear, you give them the fuel to move forward with what God has for them. Confusion doesn't convert, clarity serves. So, friend, you don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer. So choose one layer, the look, the sound, or the message, and refresh it this week. We're not striving. We're not forcing. We're partnering with God on this because playing small is just not an option. And your calling is too important to stay fuzzy. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you did the 20-minute refresh, I want you to DM me on Instagram, Tammy_Munson, and let me know what your transformation statement is, because I want to celebrate that with you. Remember, you can love Jesus and analytics. You can lead with faith and strategy. And clarity always creates momentum. I'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.